Making the most of life and investment in Portugal, Portugal Pathways simplifies every step, from golden visa and relocation to citizenship and cross-border tax planning. Portugal Pathways are proud sponsors of the Portugal Diaries podcast. Welcome to the Portugal Diaries podcast. I'm Jen.
And I'm Claire.
Today we're joined by Kerry Lockwood, an interior stylist and content creator whose warm, layered aesthetic and relatable personality have built her loyal online following. Known for transforming spaces with character and vintage charm, Kerry's work has inspired thousands to embrace character-filled homes and creative living. Kerry, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's really nice to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited.
How crazy is this?
It is.
Like, we were just having drinks the other day and now you're on the show.
I know, and this is the first podcast that I've ever done.
Is it?
Yes.
Do you know, that was funny actually, because this morning I was talking to Simon, my husband, and he says, has Kerry been on any others? And I thought, actually, I never asked you that.
No,
So,
I haven't, no.
First podcast.
I was invited on one, but it just never happened. It was an interior designer and she, I think she hurt her back or something, so she just delayed it for a while. So maybe that'll pick back up again. But yeah,
Well,
so this
we've
is
burst
exciting.
your podcast, Cherry.
I know, I feel quite nervous.
No, don't be nervous. We'll just be chatting a little bit over coffee. So listen, Kerry, you've done so well in the, interiors world, but in the kind of content creation world. How did that start from you? Because I know obviously we'll get into, what you did before that, but how did the content creation start for you?
So the content creation came about really naturally, which I think is probably the best way to do it, really. So we moved up to Newcastle. We were living in Yorkshire. We moved up to Newcastle and we were renting. And we moved into this beautiful barn conversion, which was just really neutral throughout. It was gorgeous, but I just wanted to start adding my own touches to it because we were going to be staying there for quite a while. And I think a lot of people think that when you move into a rented house, that you just have to live with it how it is and you can't make it feel like home. And people, often think, oh, we can't buy this, we can't buy furniture, we just have to kind of just buy cheap stuff because we're not going to be there for very long. Yeah. But I just thought, there's so many beautiful pieces out there and you can take them with you, so.
And also you got to live in it.
Yes,
so,
exactly. Yeah. That's it. So it just gradually started to do things. And we had amazing landlords that were just like, just do whatever you want.
So you were like to paint it.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So I started to add a bit of colour and just started to do things. And then friends started to say, can you come and have a look at my house and things like that. So then I decided to set up a website because I just thought I'm doing so many different projects here that really I should maybe have it as a bit of a sideline. So I set up a website and the girl that did my website was an old school friend. And she said to me, you probably need a blog because she said, otherwise, like, how are people going to ever find your website? There's going to be no traffic coming to it. So she said to set up a blog. So that's what I did. So I had a blog running alongside it, which was great because obviously every time I kind of put something out there, it just started to grow a little bit. And then on the back of that, I started to post images on Instagram and it was just, kind of sending people over to the blog to talk about things like how to make your rented house feel like home and things like that. Yeah. And then that side of things just started to grow. So Instagram just got bigger and bigger. And I think I got to about 10,000 followers and I was invited to an event. And at this point, I'd been asked by brands if they could send me a cushion or, a throw and things like that. And I was like, oh my God, they want to send me a cushion.
And did you accept all those pieces? Initially?
So I was like, oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Thinking that it was them that were doing me a favour. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously it started to grow a little bit. And I went to an event and I remember talking to a few girls and they were like, well, are you not charging for this? And I was like, no, I was just thinking it was great because I still had a part-time job as well. So I was like, no. And they were like, well, you really should think about it. So that's kind of how it came about. So the next one that approached me, I just said, here's my fees. I mean, it was something like £50 or something, crazy like that. But they were like, no problem. So then it was it became a bit more official, and I would create the content for them. But only ever things that I've loved, So, and that's it. And I think that's how it's been from the start. And I think you've just got to stay true to yourself, really, when it comes to anything like that.
How would you describe your style for anyone that hasn't come across your Instagram or your website?
Do you know what? I get asked that so often, and it's a real tricky one because I like to mix old and new. So in any project that I do, I think it's good to have something like an older piece that's got so much character
Yeah, I love
and kind of speaks for itself, you know, and also mixing lots of different textures, so like rustic wood and things like that, because I just think that makes such a difference. So I think it's quite classic. I like to keep quite classic. I don't really follow interior trends. I like to just think, well, it's going to be quite timeless. So I don't know really. It's hard to kind of describe it. I suppose it's kind of like luxury, timeless. I don't know.
With an element
it's
of
really
like
hard.
vintage,
Yeah, a
isn't
bit
it,
of vintage with it as well.
Because
yeah.
you've just done up your new home. I say new home. How long have you been in it now?
I've been in it 3 years now.
Oh my goodness. Well,
yeah.
it's not so new anymore.
No, it's
It feels
not.
new.
But that was just a shell, you know, it didn't
Yeah.
even have a bathroom in it or anything.
Wow.
It was just an empty shell. But it was a project that I was desperate to do.
Yeah.
I knew that because we rented for so long, and I knew that when I moved into somewhere, I wanted to be able to choose my own kitchen, choose my own bathroom. And I really wanted to put my own stamp on it. So that's how that came about, really. And we put an offer in on this house, and then it came off the market. And I was like, oh no. And I thought someone had bought it, and I thought it was probably just going to be a developer that was going to put like really crap stuff in there and then sell it on, you know. But then it came back on the market, and basically they'd had a few problems with the survey. So they'd done like a rewire and stuff like that. And then it came back on the market. So we literally jumped in straight away and put an offer in.
That's so good. And do you have a favourite space that you've created in your home? Do you have a favourite room? Or
I think the kitchen, because it's such it's like the heart of the home. You know, we spend so much time in there. You know, from just sitting in there and having breakfast together with the kids. They've had parties in there. I love getting friends over, and it's a nice kind of space to entertain and things as well. So,
and you do a lot of the work yourself, don't you?
Yes, yeah. Do you know what? A lot of that is because I'm just so impatient and like to try and get someone in to tile. So a lot of the renovation work was done during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So you know what it was like. There was like months and months waiting list to try and get any trades over, and I was so excited about having this log burner in the lounge, and I wanted it tiling behind in a herringbone pattern.
Yeah.
And the tiler, I approached a few, and they were like, "No, I've not got time for that because it's so time consuming.
Yeah.
It's such a small job, but it's so time consuming." So he was like, "No, I've not got time for that." So then I just thought, you know what? I'll do it myself.
Brilliant. I just love that. I think it's so inspiring. That's totally
So I
me.
watched a few YouTube videos, as you do.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll just give it a go and just do it myself. And again, I was like, right. So I lined everything up on the floor, and it was trying to get the central point. And, I bought fast drying grout, which was a tile adhesive, which was a nightmare because it was drying so fast. So I'm trying to, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm trying to get them all on as quick as possible before it dried. But it worked out really well. I was really pleased with it.
And I think a lot of the kind of hook to your Instagram is that people watch it because you put all this into videos, don't you?
Yes.
So people see you doing that. So I just think it makes you so accessible, as in, you can also have this, because you see a lot of fabulous interiors accounts on Instagram, and they're so like, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. But for a lot of people, it's kind of like, where do I even start? But then when they're watching you literally start from the bare bones, here's my tiles with my tile cutter, and I'm putting them on here, like learning on the job.
It just inspires them to do it. And I think they see that and they just think, oh, well, yeah, that looks fairly simple, fairly straightforward. I'll give it a go. And I think that's one thing that I love about it. I just think it's just giving people that inspiration to just have a go themselves. And so many people have messaged me on the back of that, sending me pictures and going, I saw that you did it. And I was like, right, I'm going to try this, Or they'll reach out and go, what do I need? What tools do I need? And, I think it's great to just have that conversation, just make everything a little bit less scary, I guess. So
I think it's creating a space in your home that feels entirely different. And, even if you don't have the biggest budget to go away and pay someone with from a design company to do it, you can still
there's always
buy
a
some
way.
paint, buy some tiles.
This is it. This is what I always said, paint is so transformative, isn't it? It makes such a difference. And I think just go and buy a tin of paint that's like £30 and do it yourself. You don't have to. You don't have to. But you wouldn't, I think, and even if you do, and even if you don't like the colour, I've bought tins of paint. I mean, I've bought expensive like Farrow and Ball, and I've put it on and I've gone, that's just not right. And I've had to paint over it because I think paint looks so different in so many different spaces. And so many people say, what colour is that? And I'll tell them, but I'll also say it will look completely different in your space.
Absolutely.
I've got a friend who's doing her house at the minute, and she keeps looking at different paints, and I said the best thing to do is just try and match that colour up that you're looking at there, rather than finding out what that colour is. Because when you find out what that colour is, it'll probably look completely different on your walls. So because every single wall looks different.
True. My house in the UK, anything that I put on, well, everything took on like a pinky lilac colour. So a lot of the Farron balls, like I'd put them in clients' homes and they'd be this lovely like taupey colour. I'd put them in my home and it would be, you know, just I looked like I had like a pink toned wall.
Yeah,
and
I've had that before. And
it's
because I had that in my bedroom in the old house that we were renting, and it was really lilac, and I loved it. And my friend had got it in her bedroom, and it was the most beautiful, like soft greyish colour. And I was like, oh, that is gorgeous. I put it on my walls. I was like, what is this? It just looked completely different.
So you really have to kind of trial and error with that. So do you think, you said when you reached 10,000 followers and then you were invited to the event, do you think that was your pivotal moment in, you know, what was the moment where you thought, right, I'm going to send out the kind of, this is my fees? Were you kind of a bit like...
It probably was around then. And I think once brands started to pay that and things started to grow a little bit more, I then would just increase my fees just a little bit more, you know. And I think that's just kind of how it's always been. There is a little bit of a benchmark, but there's not one that everybody uses, you know. And I think it's important... Like I share my fees with followers often and with other influencers, because I just think it's important that we're all charging around the same price, because otherwise if a brand approaches me, but then a brand approaches someone else with similar kind of numbers and they're charging a lot less, I think then it kind of just lowers the standard there, doesn't it?
So it depends on then, I guess, what they're asking of you. So how much time you're dedicating to that project, or how many pieces you're putting
and
on.
what deliverables they want on the back of it. So do they want a reel, or do they just want some still images? Do they just want stories? Stories are great because you can attach a link to it. So a lot of brands want that along with a reel or along with a carousel, for example, because then they get the click-throughs from that as well. So it works kind of well as a package. So that's generally kind of what I do. But then I have started to do a little bit more YouTube as well, because I did do that before the pandemic and then I kind of stopped. So I'm trying to get back into like the longer form content as well. So, but it's just also time consuming, as you guys know.
And are you proactive? So you said before people are sending you things and you're like, oh, thank you for that. But are you now a bit more proactive in terms of, I love this brand, I'd love to work with them, I'm just going to be bold and reach out to them and see if they want to work with me? Do you do that? I think when we were renovating, it worked really well, and I reached out to a lot of brands. And I think it is quite tricky when you reach out to them, because especially if you're renovating your house and you want, say, you want to work with them on your bathroom suite, it's difficult to then charge them, because they're a bit like, oh, well, actually, you've approached us, you're doing your house up, you know. But I think on that occasion, it's working for both of us, so it's fine. But often brands will approach me now and they will say, well, we just want to send you a product. Can you put it on? Can you do a reel and can you do stories? And I'm like, well, no, because that takes such a long time, you know, and I have to then style the products, I have to film the products, I have to edit it, you know, they're getting, you know, a stylist in there, they're getting a photographer, editor, it's all in one really. And then also, like I've got over 500,000 followers now on Instagram, so they're reaching such a big number of people. And I think some brands just get it straight away and they're like, yeah, this is great. But then others are just a bit more like, well, we're sending you a product, so that should be enough payment. But that doesn't pay the mortgage, does it?
And you would never go for, you know, an appointment with I don't know, a lawyer or something and not pay them. Do you know what I mean? It's
you wouldn't. And
I guess because it's all very new.
It's quite a new
creation,
industry,
you know?
I mean, having said that, it's been around for a good probably 10, 15 years now. So I think people are starting to get their heads around it a little bit more and understand things a little bit more. And I think brands that I've worked with, they do see an uplift and they do see a big difference. So they will come back and I'll work with them again. You know,
really?
It is. And I've got a few brands that come back and give great feedback. A lot of the time you don't really get much feedback. But then I've got like Habitat, who I'm working with at the minute. I worked with them last year and then I've just signed for another 6 rounds this time as well, so that'll run over the full year. But again, it's always, I love Habitat. I've loved them since since we very first started renting. I remember going into their Leeds store and it was all set out so beautifully, and you know, so it's a brand that I've loved for ages.
So that's like a bit of a pinch me thing that
it is, absolutely, and it's always products that I love and would genuinely have in my house. So
but again, it's very attainable. Like, did they do? I don't know if they still do. It's been been a while since I've been home, but Habitat had a range in Sainsbury's for a while.
Yeah,
Those
so-
little plant pots and picture frames,
Yeah,
and
that's
just very,
it.
you're in the supermarket, you pick
just
up a
pick
cushion,
something up.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not expensive,
Yeah,
but it looks
basically.
nice. It can change a space with a couple of accessories.
Absolutely, yeah, and you don't have to spend an absolute fortune. They teamed up with Argos and with Sainsbury's, so you can basically buy Habitat things in Sainsbury's now, but also in Argos, and you can get it delivered next day, same day, and things like that.
That's
So
so
it's
good.
it's so easy, and I think the prices there are, like you say, so attainable for other people. So it doesn't have to be. I'd rather people not watch and think, oh, I could never have that. There's no point. I want people to
When
be
it's
like,
really expensive
oh,
stuff.
I love that. I'm going to go and get that. Yeah.
I guess you blend that in with your second-hand thing as well, so
Yeah,
it's not just
absolutely.
about buying the most expensive
Yes.
everything. It's, mixing the old and the new and
Absolutely.
finding that gem in where do you find it? I guess there's a question.
Yeah, what do you do for your... I know because you go to some kind of antiques. I know the one down south is Ardingly.
Yes.
And then they've got one in the same
got
one,
Newark.
but Newark,
Yes,
isn't it? Do you go there?
Now and again, yeah, but I've got a few local antique stores which are just amazing.
Really?
Yeah, and I love just wandering
treasure
around them.
trove.
I could spend hours. There's one that's literally just round the corner, and I'll often walk the dog, and then dogs are allowed in there, so we'll go in, and like Chester, bless him, he's like, oh, all these smells and everything. It goes a bit crazy, but I just love just wandering around. And often it's pieces that I've not gone in for. I just see something and I'm like, oh, I love that, and I think that'll work so well in this space. But I do now and again, I'll look out for a certain piece. So like my kitchen dresser, the kitchen. When we moved into this house, I wanted a really nice new kitchen. The kids wanted an island. I would have loved like a really lovely kind of antique piece in the middle.
Yeah.
But we had, in our previous home, we had this antique workbench and you couldn't get your feet under it. It was so impractical.
Yeah.
It looked amazing, but the kids were like so uncomfortable, So when we moved, they were like, we want a nice, shiny, polished island. So because of that, I needed to add a little bit more of the kind of old, kind of vintage touch to it as well. So I did buy some wooden, like double wooden doors, which became like a little larder cupboard, which is great. And that kind of gives it that bit of an old touch. But then at the opposite side of the kitchen, there was nothing there. And it was all quite straight lines because we'd had the extension done. So there was like beams in there and it was all very kind of minimal. So I looked for months and months, I looked for an old kitchen dresser to fit that space. And I searched things like eBay and Vinted.
Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, you always find great deals on there. And then again, I ended up finding it at one of my local ones because I asked them to watch out for one and then they found one. So that's great. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's always worth popping into like local antique stores and just letting them know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And they'll always then watch out for pieces for you. So
There's a great shop in Almondsall. I always forget the name. I'm going to put it on when we release this episode. But she imports loads of pieces in from like Bali and Indonesia and just like... oh my goodness, so many other places. And the pieces she's got are phenomenal because they're vintage pieces, old coffee tables and, old pots and, the brick, the Indian brick, they're like molds, the brick molds,
yes,
but, for decoration. So when we recently completed a project in Kinstalago, again, we put all, lovely new stuff in, but I wanted to just kind of ground the space a little bit more. So I went down to her and I bought loads of her, the old pieces that have been, brought in from everywhere. And it just transforms the space.
Yeah, it is.
It just gives almost like a pulse.
It does,
to
doesn't
an
it?
interior.
Yeah. I think it's harder. It's a harder way to work, isn't it? Because you've got to really search these pieces out. You can't just, go to IKEA or go to your local furniture store. You've got to really look for them. So it can take a lot longer to find like the right piece that you're looking for. But I think it's definitely worth it. And I think it's better to just live in a space and just get a feel for it and decide what you want in there.
Yeah.
And they've just got so much character. Each piece just tells its own story, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think we see I see so many very clinical kitchens.
Gens in real
spaces
estate.
that are uniform and, some incredible interiors companies here, but a lot of the stuff's very similar, to the next. To the
That's
next.
it. Yeah,
I think it's very just shiny and new.
Yes.
It's very seductive walking into that and you just think, oh, this is all new and fabulous. But then it just doesn't have that heart. It
No.
almost needs the space grounding a little bit. And
Just a little piece, like pick a coffee table up that's like shiny and new and kind of laminated, move that out and just put a nice rustic piece there.
Yeah.
And it just brings the whole room together. And it's a
Exactly.
great focal point.
Yeah.
Like I do think that any room you walk in needs several focal points so that
Yeah.
people are like, oh,
Like
I don't know where to
conversation
look.
pieces, yeah.
There's so many different
Yeah.
pieces in there.
I totally
rather than it
agree.
just being like one kind of fireplace or one mirror. It's, you want people to be intrigued and like you can't, and also pieces that you can't say, well, that's from there, you can go and buy the same piece, because a lot of these pieces you can't copy them and you can't buy the exact same thing. So
That's what you want.
There's a confidence that comes with doing that over a period of time, though. I think when you move into your first home and you just want everything to be,
Oh, yeah, definitely,
perfect, and
Yeah.
it takes time to
build on that.
I think you can
everyone's-
definitely tell that, can't you? Yeah, I think we've all done that where we've bought our first home and we've just been and we want everything straight
Yeah.
away. So you just go and you're just like, right, I want this, and you want it all to look nice. But then I think as you're there a little bit longer, you start to kind of swap these pieces out, don't
And
you?
you build on
and
it.
that
You
makes
should
a
always
difference,
build on
doesn't it?
So
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to, I keep hopping back to the Instagram thing because we had a brief chat before we started. And it's very talked about at the minute, the kind of any trolling that goes on Instagram and, well, social media in general. Have you come across trolling?
Yes, I get quite I wouldn't say quite a few, but I get the odd one.
And
it
in what
catches
format? Because, you imagine fashion influencers, you can see people maybe talk about what they're wearing or, the way they look or something because they're it shouldn't be happening. I don't mean that in any way, but you can see but you're an interiors content creator. Where's it
This
come
is the
from?
thing, isn't it? I mean, I reposted a reel on my stories the other day, and all it was is a reel of 3 favourite DIYs that I've done so far this year. So there was a curtain that I've put up in the kitchen. There was my daughter's bedroom, and then what was the third one? I can't even think what the third one was, but then I just got a reply from someone saying TWAT. That's what all it said. And I was like, oh, okay. And I looked back through and this person had engaged with me several times saying, oh, that's nice. This is nice. She had put, that looks
was a
better.
woman?
Yeah, it was a woman. Yeah. She had put it to one post. I couldn't see which one it was because it was on stories, but I'd swapped something out or I'd done something different. And she put, that looks much better. And I put, oh, thanks. I appreciate your honesty. And then, just one word, nothing else. And I was just, things like that, I just
Did you
ignore.
respond?
No, I just ignored it because I just thought, well, what does that even mean?
And
Would scroll past.
And just, yes, this
you
is
don't
it.
like something,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
I
your
just
vibe.
I think,
feel like
yeah.
it's so much more about that individual.
Yes, and that particular thing, it doesn't hurt and it's fine, I can get on past it. But then I put a reel out not long ago about kitchen measurements because we live in a Victorian house, so the kitchen's quite narrow, and then we had an extension. So it's the first bit here, which was originally a dining room, which we knocked the wall through. So it's kind of a narrower area, and I really wanted an island, but it meant that between the worktops and the island, I could only have 90 centimeters to be able to move around it freely.
Yeah.
And the kitchen company said that's the minimum we would
Yeah,
ever
the absolute
advise
minimum.
anybody to have. And I was like, I'm just going to take that risk because I really want it, you know. So I did a reel and I thought this will be quite helpful to people. So I did the measurement between that and I just said something like, it can work. And I said, it's 9 centimetres between here and here. And so many people were like, that's rubbish. You need bigger than that. Can't do this, can't do that. And it went viral. I think it's on something like 12 million views at the minute or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
But because of that, you get people that don't follow you. So they don't understand, like they just see something pop up on their feed and I think they just react, you know. So many people in different countries were saying, you need a lot bigger gap than that. That's rubbish. People saying, that's not 90 centimetres, you're lying. And then someone put, you've never worked a day in your life, which was just so random because that really fired me up a little bit. So I thought, how dare you, you know, so things like that. But then I have to remember, I think if there's fact behind it, then I think it hurts. But I think if you read it and think, well, actually, you don't know what you're talking about, you can move on from it. But then one of the comments which really stung was I was stood in the video with a tape measure doing this, and someone said, well, let's talk about the size of your hips.
Oh my God.
Yes. And you know, everybody's got that one area of their body that they're conscious about. Well, my hips have always been that area because I've got a small waist, but I've got bigger hips. So I was like, oh, that
That's
stung.
outrageous. Outrageous.
That one really hurt. And I took a screenshot of it and I was thinking, do I put it on stories to tell people? Do I draw attention to it? Because people often say, don't draw attention to them because that's what they want. But actually then they deleted it. They deleted it about an hour later, it had gone.
Had you screenshotted it?
Yeah, I'd screenshot it. So then I've still got all the details of it in my camera roll.
Yeah.
And I thought, do I react to it? And I just thought, no, there's just no point in reacting to it, you know, because they don't know me. And yeah, I've got a curvy figure, you know, but I just thought there's no need. Like, what has that got to do with this video? I'm trying to help people. And I think that was the thing. I think sometimes you put content out there thinking that you're helping and people just take it the wrong way, you know, and that's just difficult, isn't it? But I think that's what happens when you're reaching that amount of people.
Yeah, you're never
12 million people, it's, you know.
Yeah.
So you just got to, and actually, I think the controversial reels are the ones that always do well.
Yeah.
Not that I felt it was controversial. Yeah.
Like, you know, boosted you. So actually,
it's doing you a favour in a way,
yeah.
because then on the back of that, people reply and they respond to that particular comment.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people supporting me and followers that have followed me for years that then jump on and go, this is you out of order, you know, this is out of order. You know?
Also, it just shows, like, for anybody looking at your analytics, you're showing massive engagement there. So
yes, exactly.
They're doing you a favour.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I think that's the way that you've got to
pull
look
the
at it
positive out of
sometimes, isn't it? Yeah.
But it just absolutely blows my mind. People sitting there and saying, like, just mean stuff. I just can't fathom it. I just can't fathom it.
I also had someone that wrote to a brand, and it was so weird because I was doing a collaboration for a fridge company. And it was the one where you knock on the door and you can see through the door. I don't know if you've seen that. So they asked me to create some content. They weren't sending me a fridge, but they wanted me to create some content in my home where I've got a piece of furniture that I can see through. So at the time I'd got a dresser that had got glass doors. So I talked about that on a reel. And then I had someone write to the brand via Instagram to say that I was selling the fridge on eBay. But I had never been sent a fridge. So it was so bizarre. So the brand actually messaged me on Instagram and said, we've had this message to say that you're selling your fridge that we've gifted you on eBay. She was like, obviously we know we've not gifted you a fridge, but we just wanted to give you the heads up. Because obviously this person could be detrimental to your brand and everything, you know.
That's crazy.
So I was like, well, can you tell me who it is? And they were like, no. So I was like, well, but you can't tell me that someone said that about me, but not tell me who it is. I went, I need to know who it was. Anyway, they did tell me in the end. This person lived in Australia. Yeah. And she did follow me at the time, but obviously I blocked her and everything after that, which I don't normally block people because a lot of the time I think, do you know what?
Yeah.
Like I've got nothing to hide. Yeah. Like there's no point in blocking
also,
you. And
I'm more than happy for you to get wound up by me and I'm not doing anything
this is
wrong.
it. Yeah. It's almost like you're going to see me win kind of thing, isn't it? You know, just let them get on with it. Yeah.
There's no relationship there. Not somebody that a friend of a friend that was
nothing.
No links.
Nothing at all. I think it was very early days, and I think influencing was new, and she made quite a few comments on other people's content, just basically saying, oh yeah, you're just getting that for free. And I think it was just they just didn't understand how the industry worked, and it was more of a jealousy thing than anything. So
it's very bizarre, but I think there probably was a lot of that because that, and again we referenced this earlier before we came on, the tattle life thing that's obviously kind of really blown up in the press at the minute because you know, that's, you know, I've shared on here before, I got trolled massively on TikTok.
Oh, did you?
My one and only time I went on TikTok.
Oh gosh.
And it was all
I bet
men.
that's put you off now doing any TikTok ever again.
I literally just took everything off, but it was based on an outfit thing I did, the whole, this is what I'm wearing to go meet my friends for lunch.
Yeah.
And literally by the time I got to lunch, I had, so Jen always laughs because it's outrageous. These guys, you know, saying stuff, and sorry for all our listeners because you've heard it so many times, but you know, ironing wrinkles, not bad for 65, 4 pints.
So bad.
Been married to my wife for 30 years, never once has she asked for gratification from, like, you know, people. So it was outrageous.
They just don't get it,
and
do they?
It's just kind of like, but it was all men. And it was about 1 p.m. on a Thursday, something like that. And I remember thinking, well, why aren't you at work? But, you know, like it was all
You've
guys.
got way too much time on your hands,
But, you know, going on to this tattle life thing, that's like, have you heard of tattle life?
I've heard snippets.
So it's, you know, I remember speaking to Style the Clutter.
Yes.
So I was with Naomi. I can't remember. That's terrible. Anyway, we were at this event. It was the Barker and Stonehouse one that you did in Newcastle, but I went to the one in Dorking, remember? And we were chatting afterwards because we all went to the pub, and she said that she got trolled hugely on Tattle Life because she had a place in France that they'd go to, and she'd shown what she'd done there. She was an interiors content creator in Richmond. And I remember just being a bit blown away by the fact that, hang on, you're doing interiors. Why would people be really slating this, that, and the other? And
it's basically a platform that people can hide away on. So you're anonymous on there. So
There are
you
a
can
few of
just,
them,
it's just kind of keyboard warriors, isn't
but
it?
you're
that
given
just-
about as many logins as you want, to
there's
hide behind.
Yeah, you don't have to do any kind of ID checks, or you don't have to do an email check. I only went on there once because I heard about it and I thought, I'm going to put my name in. There's one thing about me, but I can't even remember what it was, but it wasn't anything severe. And I thought, you know what, I just kind of made a point of saying to myself, I'm never going on again, because I did look at other people's, because I'd read that someone else had been really seriously attacked on there, and I read what they'd been putting about her, and I was like, that is awful.
And it's a guy.
Yeah.
So they've exposed the owner of this.
It's a guy that set the
man.
platform up in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a man that's behind it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is just crazy.
Just think, turn a blind eye.
I
easy
think
to
it's
say.
better not to look, because I think
Yeah.
it's naturally just going to upset you. And I think it's actually had such an impact on some people's mental health.
Of course.
There are people on there that have really struggled. And I think when you've got people constantly saying things about that, like that, I think it's just, you can't help but go on there and have a look, I guess, because it's kind of, you almost want to say,
Yeah,
you
I
almost
went
want
on to have a look because I thought,
did you?
what? As soon as I learnt about it, which I think it was after she said about that somebody had trolled her with her place in France. And then, so I went on and had a look. And also I'm good friends with Lorna Lux.
Yes, of course.
And so I thought I'd be interested to see if Lorna is. And, Lorna's trolled to death on there.
Is she? Yeah.
Same with Lydia
because
Millen.
she's successful. She's
them.
beautiful. She's successful. And I
Yeah.
think that's just what happens, isn't
And
it?
it's
Unfortunately.
outrageous, but you can't, excuse me, you can't imagine like the kind of vitriol and the hate coming from someone, which 1,000,000% we know comes from how they feel about themselves. It's nothing about the influencer that they are, attacking.
But I just think you're never going to get nice people on there going to say nice things.
No.
If you're gonna look under a rock, you're gonna find gruesome stuff.
That's exactly
I
it,
don't
isn't
want
it?
to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see that or read that.
Yeah.
You just a network of vile people
Oh,
on
I
there
know.
to just
Imagine
say
being
that.
Victoria Beckham.
Yeah, I
mean,
Oh my gosh, it must be killer.
I suppose you've just got to have broad shoulders. You've just got to get on with it, haven't you? But I think not to read things is probably, for me, that would be the way forward.
Yeah.
And just never to go on there, because I think you don't know about it then.
No.
But I think it's the fact that you know that other people could be reading that publicly about you, and that's not nice, is it?
believing things that are
Yeah,
untrue.
and believing things.
Do you
yeah.
think that side of things makes you hold back a little bit? If you're preparing a reel or whatever for Instagram, do you ever think, I'm going to go and change, or I'm going? Do you behave a bit differently, worrying about that side?
Absolutely.
Of things?
I think you've always got to be so careful what you're putting out there. I mean, I could put a picture of my dinner on there, and if it's meat, I could get like 20 people going, I can't believe you're posting that. I can't believe you're eating meat. And, it's that kind of thing. So you've constantly got to have it in the back of your mind. And as much as I want to just be as natural and organic as possible, and I try to show the good and the bad on Instagram, because I think it's good for people to know that it's not just
not
all
just
about the
perfect
good, is
life.
it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I try and show like the teens room that you can't see the carpet in and things like that,
keeping it real.
And some people love that, and they'll go, thank you so much, we loved that, but then other people reply and go, oh my God, I can't believe you live like that, so
It's
you're
just
always going to upset
outrageous.
people. So it's just the way it is, isn't
Do you think
it?
it's that honesty, the realness that makes more people want to follow you? Because
I hope so.
you're very relatable. I
try
was
to
searching
be.
back through some of your Instagrams, and it was like creating spaces for, everybody's got this area where you just dump stuff. And it's
Yeah, because
and
they
then you're
have,
like,
haven't they?
How can I
Yeah.
just tidy it up a bit? How can I make it 10% better?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's so honest. Most people would never show that. Like
No,
the,
they wouldn't.
the area that needs.
And I think 90% of people have that area that is just a bit of a
course we
dumping
do.
ground, isn't it? I mean, I have got friends that I know would never have that, because they're full-time housewives and they love and they take pride, and that's all they do, and that's different. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with having that space that has just got to a point where you just open the door and you go, oh my God, that's for another day, and you close it again.
Yeah, 100%.
So, sorry, I was just going to touch on very quickly. You've touched on the kids, and
Yeah.
obviously you're busy. You've got a lot going on. But how do you juggle? When your home is effectively your workspace, and you're a busy mom, and you've got things going on. Like, how do you strike that balance and still be able to switch off when you're at home?
It is quite tricky, I think, working from home so much. Like often the girls will say to me, do you want to go out for dinner? And then I've got a couple of girlfriends that have got younger children, so they'll be like, well, should we just have dinner at yours? And I'm like, I just want to get out this house, as much as I love hosting, like the four walls close in on you, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think with the kids, like they're teenagers, they don't want to be on social media, which I totally respect. Like even now and again, I'll just take a little picture and I'll be like, can I post this? And they'll be like, absolutely not. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have to get everything approved by them. They don't really want their bedrooms on there. I just recently did a makeover on my daughter's bedroom. She's 16, she's just done a GCSE, so we wanted it to be a really nice space. So she didn't mind that. But, 2 days later, it's literally upside down again, So,
So you don't
and I've kind of got to respect that. But I think it's harder with areas that I use a lot, so like the kitchen. And it's their home at the end of the day, but they could get up, because my son's at university, so he'll often get out of bed like 11 o'clock and I'm in the middle of like filming. So I've got the tripod set up and I'm filming. He'll just stroll in, start making his breakfast, and completely oblivious to what's going on. And sometimes I'll say, just give me 5 minutes to finish this. And other times I know it's going to take a while, so I'll just be like, I'll just let him have his breakfast. I'll just wait a little bit. But then maybe the light's gone, or you've missed that kind of, but it's just, you've got to kind of work around it. Because
but then the good thing is because you work for yourself and you're much more flexible to kind of work around these things.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. But I mean, they just laugh sometimes. Like they'll see me putting the Christmas tree up in June. And sometimes they'll be like, Mum, the neighbour's going to think we're crazy. They can see the Christmas tree in the window,
It's all right, it's only here for a few hours.
And then my daughter will often go through my list of friends and she'll unfollow, because if any of her friends are following me, she'll just go unfollow. So none of them can follow me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she doesn't want, like,
that is
you'd think,
brilliant.
like, I think, is it not cool to have a mum that does this on Instagram? She's like, no, it's not. It's not cool in the slightest. So I think it's just trying to be respectful in that kind of way. But it is hard because sometimes I will spend like an hour tidying a space before I can work in there, you know. But that's good in a way because it makes you tidy up as well. It makes you keep things tidy. So
what's next? So I know you've done a lot of work in your home already, but is there any projects still in the horizon or any other big work projects?
At the beginning of the year, there was 3 projects that I wanted to do. I wanted to put an outdoor fireplace in the backyard. We've only got a small backyard, and it's great at this time of year in summer because we can be out there all the time, and it's almost like an extension of the house. So we don't use the living room, we use that, and we stay out there a lot, but then it does get chilly in an evening. So wanted to build an outdoor fireplace. I also wanted to tile a splashback on the cooker and also do the front path, because we live in a Victorian house and I really want to have the nice kind of monochrome path. So they were the 3 big projects. But it's funny because now we've been using the outdoor space a lot more. We've put the sofa where the fireplace would be, and the sun is there most of the day. So now I'm thinking, if I move the sofa from there, then it's not going to get much sun. And if I put a fireplace there, because I really wanted like a huge fireplace, with a really nice...
Like the number 17 house.
Something like that, And so the more I've thought about it, there's not really a space for it now, because I just think the sofa needs to stay there. So again, it's sometimes about living in it, isn't it? And just getting a feel for it.
Works.
So I've kind of thought to myself, that's not going to work now. I need to think of an alternative space to have it. Maybe I just go for just something, a fire pit or something like that. But at the minute, it's fine. And also I've started using a projector on that wall, which again, in the kitchen, when I was going to do a tile a splashback behind the oven, I've started using the projector in there, because sometimes if I'm cooking, I just want to put like Sex and the City on in the background or something like that. So I just thought, where can I use it? And I've not got a TV in the kitchen and I've never wanted one. So I just put the projector against the white of the splashback, so that when I'm cooking, I can watch it. And I love it. It's great. But now I think, maybe I can't tile that space because it needs to be a flat painted wall.
See, things just change.
It's staying as it is for now. So the only project that I still want to do is the path outside. It needs kind of levelling off. I keep thinking, shall I just get started on it myself, get back to YouTube and make myself a professional? And I think I would love to do that, but it does need kind of a lot of groundwork doing before I can tile it. So
we'll be watching that on Instagram, I think, won't we?
Yeah.
Actually, so you need to get back from your holiday.
Yes,
first.
That's the next one. That's the next project.
Because we're gonna need to wrap up soon.
Yeah, of course.
But I want to touch on Portugal. Because obviously you're over here now in the studio, probably, but actually we've got the aircon on, but hasn't it been the hottest?
It's been so hot, so hot.
And this isn't your first time here in Portugal, is it?
No, I think this is our 4th time back. Came on holiday to Valdelobo that was pre-pandemic, that must be about 15 years ago, I think, and it was beautiful. And then the second time I came with a brand actually, Ray Feather, a fashion brand, and I stayed at the Octant Villamonte. Do you know where that is? You must look it up. It is stunning.
Really?
You will love it. It's the most beautiful hotel. The interiors, the pool area, it's gorgeous. It's not far from the airport.
Okay.
It's so beautiful. So stayed there. And we got a taxi one night and we went to the Bold Octopus for dinner.
Yes.
And that
So
was the
nice.
first time I'd been there.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with that.
The sunset
We
on
had
there is amazing.
drinks in
Yeah.
Julia's and the sun was setting and it was just beautiful. And then I came back with my boyfriend, actually. I booked to go there again because I just loved it so much. I was like, really need to take him there. It's so beautiful. So last year, I booked to go there again. And we got a taxi and we went to Maria's for drinks.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Bold Octopus again. And I just love it. It's so beautiful. There's so many gorgeous parts of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
So then when I was looking at coming away with the kids this year, it's actually the first holiday that the three of us have had since I separated from my husband. So at first I was just looking at kind of all inclusive because I thought I need to be somewhere that's, you know, we can walk to and that's kind of just self-contained,
Yeah.
that's not too stressful for our first holiday together. But then my friend was like, well, I'm going to stay. She was staying at her ex-partner's apartment and she was like, why don't you come along with us? She's got a son who's the same age as my son. So I checked with Jersey because she was going to be the only one that didn't have a friend with her.
Okay, yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. So we arranged to come and stay with them. But then as it happened, there's been some medical problems with them. So they've not been able to come out. So it was just the three of us.
you.
Yeah. So, and it is a little bit out in the sticks because it's at the Crest.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. The apartment is stunning, but you can't walk anywhere.
No.
So everywhere, I had to hire a car. I've never driven on the opposite side of the road before. So it's just...
Yeah, but it's like another kind of hurdle that, like, do you know what I mean? A comfort zone.
I was
push
so
and down
nervous though. I don't know why. I think I've been driving for... I've been driving for like over 30 years.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I can do this, you know, but got in the car and I was so nervous. I think it's just kind of making that first move, isn't it? And the thing that I find hard is that driving on the opposite side, I feel like I'm really close to the middle of the road. So I was driving really close to the edge and my daughter was like, Mum, you're driving too close. Did you find that when you first started driving over here? Yeah.
I drove over here. Because I brought the dogs over. So me and my sister jumped in. I had a Fiat Abarth in the UK, and we jumped in that, and we drove through.
Oh, yes,
France
I saw that.
and
Yeah.
Spain, and then into Portugal, and just stayed overnight.
Bit of
in
a road
places,
trip.
had like a road trip, and just kind of. Yes, it never really fazed me, but things like that. I think when I was crew, I just used to jump in the crew van all the time, and that was the long side of it.
I think my husband used to do that all the time. It's one of those things that you just take for granted and let them do it. But do you know what? It's been fine, and I feel as I'm getting more used to it. And the roads are fine over here, aren't they? And it's
totally.
do you know what I realise is that everything's so cheap in a taxi. So I probably could have got away without hiring a car. Could have got in a taxi, and we've been doing that. We've been getting in a taxi, and we've been to again Maria's. I just love the vibe up there. It's gorgeous, isn't it? And we went to Bamboo for dinner. The restaurants over here are amazing, and everyone's so friendly, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
definitely
around.
Yeah.
I can understand why you've moved here.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Needs to be on your...
We'll get you here moving over.
Absolutely.
Claire was saying, come and live here.
Right, we've got to wrap it up now.
really
We've been told to pull it up. So we're going to finish with our quick fire round.
One each, because we're way over on time.
Yeah.
I am going to go with dream home project. So would it be a farmhouse, townhouse, or coastal hideaway?
Oh, that's really tough. One of each. No, I would probably go with a farmhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to go favourite season to decorate for.
Ooh.
Maybe autumn.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's really cozy. It's that kind of time where you light your candle, and I love that moment when the light starts to drop and you light the candle and it's really cozy in the house. You put all the little lamps on. So I would say autumn. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
thank you.
thanks.
We've loved having
Thank you
We
so
always
much for
say this.
having
Oh my
me.
God, I could have carried on talking and talking. Poor Juliana's cameras are going to be overheating. But thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me.
Had a
It's been
great
lovely.
time.
Thank you.
And if you are watching us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review. If you're getting on a flight, download an episode. It all helps our numbers. And subscribe, rate and review us, and find us on our socials at the Portugal Diaries podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you
Kerry.
for having me.